Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. And so we're now continuing with Guru Dattatreya's teachings, which he has garnered from observing nature. So it's a beautiful section of the Uddhava-gita where Guru Dattatreya has all these different gurus he has learned from, and he's sharing their teachings with us. And today we'll start with the sun. The sun is our guru, what we can learn, what spiritual lessons we can take from the sun. If you want to access the entire course, the previous classes, make sure you check out the link below, become a member of this channel. And by becoming a member of this channel, you show your appreciation, and I'm very grateful for it. But also as a bonus, you get access to the entire Uddhava-gita course. Okay, so we're now in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 7. Now we're in verse 50. So this is already the 50th verse of the Uddhava-gita. Just as the sun evaporates large quantities of water by its potent rays, and later returns the water to the earth in the form of rain, similarly, a saintly person accepts all types of material objects with his material senses, and at the appropriate time, when the proper person has approached him to request them, he returns such material objects. Thus, both in accepting and giving up the objects of the senses, he is not entangled. So, what Guru Dattatreya is saying is that a spiritual person doesn't have to, there's a technique for that person not to become entangled. This word's very good, entangled. When you become entangled in nature, means that you are now not fully spiritual because parts of you are identifying with aspects of nature. So this is a big deal in the whole yoga path. We want to avoid this natural tendency we conditioned souls have to become too attached to material things, too identified, too much thinking like, oh, that thing is part of who I am. It's just a common mistake. We think that such it defines me. That object defines me. That house, that car, that phone, maybe a purse, a dress, or an outfit, a shirt, that defines, a watch, right? Cell phones, that defines me. And then if I don't have that, or I want to have, like, if I can't feel good about myself because that thing isn't very good, or it's not the latest model, and so I don't feel good about myself. Or maybe you do have the latest model, you're like, yeah, see how cool I am, and I have this great car and this great house. So that's not very good at all, because that's the mind being stuck in matter and getting further away from its true spiritual identity. So a spiritual person, person like you who wants to become spiritual, you don't want to become identified with matter. But at the same time, what are you going to do? You're not going to have, how can you not have anything, right? You're going to walk around naked like some sadhus do in India, covered in ashes? I don't think so, right? I mean, it's illegal in this country. It's illegal in most countries anyway. So no, you can't do that either. So what's the best way to go about it? Well, here's a technique. Just like the sun absorbs all this water, the sun isn't attached to the water. It lets go of the water, absorbs the water, lets go of the water, if you include the clouds as part of the sun cycle. So part of the water cycle is that, the sun does evaporate the water, becomes clouds, the clouds move around, and then they rain. And then, the whole cycle repeats itself. That's part of the water cycle. So we can do like that. We can be here participating in the cycle of exchanges of goods without being attached to it. Where you receive stuff naturally from the consequences of your dharmic actions. You receive stuff, right? You get paid, you get your salary, you get your profit, you get your inheritance, whatever, you get money, you get things. And then, you also get rid of things. You let go, you give when there's need. I mean, I personally practice this and I feel very good about it. There are bigger strategic, charity scenarios where you're like, no, I'm going to build this cause, and those are great as well. That's fine. I have that as well. But a lot of times I just try to hear out, like somebody just comes and you can see that's a good cause, and immediately you just give to that cause. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm right here, right now, and here I'm having a chance to help something. And that can just be like a friend of yours who's a neighbor. Could be could be a neighbor, could be a friend who's in need. It doesn't have to be like some big organized thing. Just somebody comes up to you and says, look, this happened. I know this person, can you help? Then you just help. You just look for ways to not be entangled, where the things you have, they're free to support, to help, to make the world a better place at any time, whenever it comes up. So here's a technique that he is sharing, and just to get and to give whenever it's necessary. Mind you, he does say the proper person. So it's not that you're just indiscriminately giving to the wrong cause. You don't want to give to a drug addict so you can buy more drugs. You want to make sure you don't want to give money to cheating. There's lots of cheating going on in the name of charity, right? So there's lots of elaborate schemes people come up with to rip money out of you. There's lots of very intelligent cheaters out there. So no, a proper person, somebody who really could use your help. Purport: a Krishna conscious person never feels proprietorship over the opulences entrusted to him by Lord Krishna. For spreading the Krishna conscious movement, the devotees of Lord Krishna should not merely accumulate material wealth, but should distribute the opulences of Lord Krishna in such a way that Krishna consciousness movement spreads unlimitedly. This is a lesson to be learned from the sun. So of course, when you understand the importance of spiritual knowledge, of becoming spiritual, when you get, there will be a moment where you're going to say, whoa, that's it, this is the highest priority, and you're going to put that in your life, and spirituality will become the highest priority in your life. I mean, that happened to me, decades ago. It's like, wow, obviously this is, number one, and number two isn't even close. So this is just like number one kind of on its own. It's that important. So when you get that feeling, then one of the ways you definitely want to do charity, like you definitely want to give your energy back, is by making sure, finding out a way to help more people get this knowledge, receive this knowledge, have a chance to become spiritual, have access to a guru, so they can also learn, to become interested in having, because it's just the problem isn't lack of gurus, the problem is lack of disciples. It's like people who care to learn. That's always been the problem in the world, not a lack of gurus. So helping people to awaken, not in the woke thing, which is political, not that, but actually the true sense of awakening, the true sense, the original version of waking up, which is the spiritual awakening of becoming, a spiritual person, of understanding your spiritual nature. Okay, verse 51. Even when reflected, this is a different lesson, completely different lesson, but also using the sun. Even when reflected in various objects, the sun is never divided, nor does it merge into its reflection. So imagine a situation where you have lots of little pots of water, for example. Let's say you have lots of cups of water on a table, and then on each one there'll be a reflection of the sun. That's what he's talking about, that kind of thing. So you can see the reflection of the same one sun in many different receptacles of water, for example. Only those with dull brains would consider the sun in this way. Similarly, although the soul is reflected through different material bodies, the soul remains undivided and non-material. So when you see the sun in the cup, you don't think, oh, look, the sun has become the cup. right? The little water there, that is the sun. No, the sun is something else. It's reflected in that reservoir, in a bucket, cup, lake, whatever. It's reflected in that thing. But you don't think that it is that thing. You don't think the sun is that thing. Listen, you'd have to be dull-brained to think that. And you don't get confused because, oh wait, I saw the reflection of the sun in this puddle, and I saw the reflection of the sun in that puddle. Maybe there are many suns. No, you don't think that either, right? So these are two things. It's a good point, isn't it? It's a really nice explanation. So yeah, you can see many reflections of the same one sun, and you don't get confused thinking it's many suns. And you never think that that reflection is the sun. Similarly, there's so many, you can see in your own history, maybe there's so many different bodies you have assumed. But you are not multiple souls, you're just the one soul going through all these bodies, and you're never the body. Or, if you want to look at the present moment, there are so many living beings, and in each of them is the soul. Each has its own soul. But you don't think that because there's so many different ones, that they are the soul. Or that they, you don't get confused identifying the body with the soul. That's the idea. Or, take it another step, if you look at Paramatma, which is the aspect of God which is within every body. The Paramatma, super soul. So because there are many bodies, many living beings, they all have God in them. That's the yoga concept. God is within everyone. But though God is within everyone, you don't think God is those things, those different people. Neither do you think that God is divided and there's many, many gods. Let's see if that makes sense to you. Purport. The sun is reflected in many objects, such as windows, mirrors, shiny metal, oil, water, and so on. Yet the sun remains one and indivisible. Similarly, the eternal spirit soul within the body is reflected through the screen of the material body. Thus the soul appears to be young or old, fat or skinny, happy or sad. The soul may appear to be American, Russian, African, Hindu, or Christian. However, the eternal soul, in its natural position, is free of any material designation. The word Stula Matibi in this verse indicates that those with intelligence, those whose intelligence is gross and dull. We have practical experience of a dog urinating on a valuable painting at an outdoor art show. Due to its dull intelligence, the dog could not appreciate the actual value of the painting. Similarly, unless one takes to Krishna consciousness, one is grossly misusing the invaluable opportunity of human life. Human life is meant for self-realization, and we should not waste time bickering over material designations such as capitalist, communist, American, Russian, and so on. Instead, all people should take to the loving devotional service of God and realize their eternal pure identity. One should understand the sun by observing its direct manifestation and not its distorted reflection on material objects. Similarly, one should consider every living being in terms of his pure spiritual identity, beyond the distorted manifestation of material designation. So this is such a beautiful thought, isn't it? The world so desperately needs this kind of consciousness, where we see people as eternal spiritual souls beyond these silly, external, shallow designations. We're doing that so much now. It's getting worse now. It looked like it was going to get better, but then now it's getting worse again. So it's like all Russian and Chinese and American. Oh no, we all hate each other now. It's so horrible, isn't it? We should just all be one, spiritual souls, not Christian, Muslim. No, just all see each other as spiritual souls, which is what we are. We're eternal spiritual souls, eternal brethren, we're just one. all children of the one God. It's just, there's no, it's so simple. And the world so desperately needs this yogic spiritual vision so we don't destroy ourselves in strife and useless bickering battles and just horrible, and we're just destroying everything. We're killing ourselves, we're hurting ourselves so much with this non-spiritual vision. The word Atma in this verse also refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as we tend to observe ordinary jiva souls through the reflection of the material body. We tend to observe the personality of Godhead through the distorting screen of our material mind. Thus we imagine God to be impersonal or material or unknowable. When the sky is overcast, sunlight is the highest possible perception of the sun, which is covered by clouds. Similarly, when one's mind is fogged over with mental speculation, one may take the light emanating from the transcendental body of God to be the highest spiritual truth. This is really good. However, when the mind is spotlessly clear like a cloudless blue sky, one can see the actual form of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. The absolute truth cannot be perfectly understood by the covered mind of the conditioned soul. Rather, one must see the Lord through the clear blue sky of Krishna consciousness, which is free from this fruitive desires and mental speculations. So this is a great example, because there are two things, right? And if you study the Vedas and other traditions as well, but basically, especially in this whole Vedic world, like Upanishads and, like the Puranas, like not the way people interpret Bhagavad-gita, they're basically just two things, right? And those two things are, what is the ultimate aspect of reality, right? So there's two things it can be. Is it just the Brahman? Is it just the formless energy? Is it just like the formless, it's just light? Just think of it as light, just whatever, just energy. Or is it the personality of God? Is it God, with his body and his kingdom and his associates? Is that the ultimate thing? And of course, this is a big, they've been having debates on this for thousands of years. Of course, thousands of years. For me, it's very obvious that it's the personal conception because, anyway, I'm not going to get into it here. But, you'll see if you read the Bhagavad-gita, if you do my Bhagavad-gita course, you'll see very clearly, it's there in the Bhagavad-gita, it's very clearly, in the Bhagavatam in general. So clearly, the personal aspect of God is the highest and light is the lesser aspect. And here a great example is given. Say you want to understand the sun. So then, if it's a totally overcast day, right, just a cover of clouds, right, no gaps, just clouds. So what interpretation of God do you have? Well, you just have this general sunlight, right? It's just a general overall sunlight. So you may think, oh, that's what the sun is. It's just this general light because your mind is overcast. That's the example being given, the metaphor here. But if your mind is clear, if the sky becomes totally clear, the clouds of doubt become blown away, then you can actually see the fiery globe of the sun. You can say, oh, that's the sun. It's not just like a general thing. I can actually see it as a form. There's an actual form of the sun. It's this big brown fiery disk in the sky, right? So that's the idea. And so these are the two things that, and then just in the end here, just so you get you're going to see this over and over again when you get into the Vedic philosophy. The two things, especially like the Vaishnava Bhakti Yoga philosophy, the two things that you want to overcome, the two hurdles to clear thinking are fruitive desires, mental speculation. So what does that mean? Fruitive desires, karma, basically it's like you're a materialist. So a person who's still a materialist, who hasn't come to the point of sarvam dukkham, hasn't come to a point of understanding that, you're not going to figure out material world. It's always going to be frustrating. There's no good situation. In the end, you get frustrated, sarvam dukkham. So then you're a materialist, like always, no, I'm going to do this. It's going to be great when I get that. If I buy that car, then I'll be really happy. And if I buy that house, I'll be really happy. And if I buy that clothes and that phone. So, that's a materialist. So that's karmi. So that's fruitive desires. And then the other thing is called, they translate as mental speculation. The word is jnana. So the two things you don't want to, the sequence is, and I've given this before, but it's always a big deal, so no problem repeating it. The three layers are the three stages, as it were. The first is you're a karmi. So we start a karmi. A karmi is a person who's into karma, he's a materialist. Again, so karmi is the materialist who's like, yeah, I'm going to be happy in this material world, just give me this, give me that, and I'll be all set. Karmi. The second level is the jnani. So the jnani, he's thinking now. He's a philosopher. Now at least he's thinking like, I don't know about this, but who am I? What is God? Is there God? What is God like? Am I God? He's thinking. So this is great. He's asking questions about existence. So he's a seeker, jnani. So much better than being just a karmi, right? But then the highest is yogi, who's figured it out. He's overcome materialism. He's overcome doubt and confusion. Now he has all the knowledge. He's ready to be a fully active spiritualist. So Krishna uses, so you'll see in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna telling Arjuna, be a yogi. Don't be a karmi, don't be a jnani, be a yogi. So that's what it is. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Jivera kalyana sadhana kama jagate asye madura nama avidya timira tapana rupe ridgagane viraje. The holy name of Lord Krishna descends into the darkness of the material world just to benedict the conditioned souls. The holy name of Lord Krishna is just like the sun that rises in the clear sky of the heart of the devotees. It's nice, isn't it? Nice bit of poetry to connect you to God. Such brilliant knowledge cannot be understood by those who are trying, in the name of either piety or atheism, to exploit the material creation of the Lord. In other words, the karmi. The karmi can't understand those things. One must become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, and then his knowledge will illuminate everything in all directions. Kasmin nu bhagavo vigyate sarvam idam vigyatam bhavatiti. Mukunda Upanishad 1:3. Okay, very nice. Verse 52. One should never indulge in excessive affection or concern for anyone or anything. Otherwise, one will have to experience great suffering, just like the foolish pigeon. So, this is a break from the previous gurus. The previous gurus were, so far we've gone through a few. But now is going to be a whole story. Okay, the other ones were like, okay, because of this, you learn that. From the water, you learn this. From the fire, you learn that. From the sun, you learn this. From the sky, they were like kind of like quicker things. But now there's going to be a story. It's a very dramatic story. We're just going to introduce it here. We're going to start introducing it here. Won't do the whole in this class. So this dramatic story of this poor, foolish pigeon. It's very, very sad story. But the point of this story is to teach a vital lesson in spiritual life, which is to never indulge in excessive affection or concern for anyone or anything. Now, why is that lesson even there? Because again, material, you don't want to become identified. You don't want to become attached to things here. That's not the point. You don't want to become attached to people or things. Instead, what does the yogi do? He is fixed in his dharma. His attachment is to God. And he serves God, he or she serves God by following their dharma, by doing your best. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, you have the right to the action, not the results. Very powerful verse. Took me, I think, like a decade to understand. So if you don't get it, it's okay. But the point is, you act. All you've got is your action, right? Right now you can act. You can make choices, you can act. But what happens from there on, that's not just you, right? It's no longer you. What happens after is like, right now I can speak, but is this camera really recording? I hope so. But it might not be. I mean, I've had it before. I've recorded whole things and the sound wasn't working. So like, I did the action, but the result wasn't mine. I couldn't control the result. Maybe I should have checked the microphone. But anyway, but you don't have full control, right? It's like the result. Is anybody going to say, are you going to understand this? I don't control the result. It's not mine anymore. It's gone beyond me. The only thing that's mine is the action. Right? And in the next moment, I'll have another action and another action. But what's mine is action in my consciousness. So the world here, outside here, the things you can become attached to, the things and the people you can become attached to, that's not real. That's within this thing called matter, the material world. It's what we call Maya, illusion. This is the stuff of dreams. This is the stuff or a nightmare, depending on your life. But this isn't ultimately real. All this stuff out here, everything you're seeing, everybody you know, that's not the real thing. It's the matrix. It's not totally real. Sure, there are people behind it. There are real operators. There are real people behind things. There are real souls within every living being, sure. And there's certainly God behind everything. But if you're just looking at the surface, you're going to get super confused. You're going to be in trouble. So if you get attached to things here, to people here, you're guaranteed to trip and fall and suffer. Because this stuff isn't real. This stuff is all ephemeral, temporary. So you're going to be attached to the form of someone, and that form, that person, that body will die, will move away. That person will decide not to be interested in you, and you're going to go crazy. You're attached to things break, bombs fall, they decompose, they fall apart, the government takes them away, the thieves take them away, you just become uninterested in them anyway. You don't want to be investing yourself in things. They don't offer any guarantee. They're not going to support you, right? They're not so trustworthy. They're going to go. It's not yours at any moment. Boof, it's gone, right? So this is very important, that you go inside, that you take in and you value the things which are real. And what's real to you? It's your consciousness, it's your action, it's your love. Those things are real. So you have to focus on what's real and not what's outside. So very important lesson. And it's going to be a dramatic lesson we're going to learn from this poor foolish pigeon. Let me just read the purport. We'll end the class. And then next class, we'll start the story. So you have to come back next week to hear the story, if I'm still here to teach it. So purport. The Sanskrit prefix ati, or excessive, indicates affection or attachment in which there is no Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita 5:29, Suridam sarva bhutanam. The Lord is the eternal well-wisher of every living being. The Lord is so affectionate that He sits in the heart of every conditioned soul and accompanies him or her throughout his or her endless wandering in the kingdom of Maya, which is this thing here, patiently waiting for the conditioned soul to come back home, back to Godhead. Thus the Lord makes all arrangements for the eternal happiness of every living entity. The best way for anyone to show compassion and affection for all living beings is to become a preacher on behalf of Lord Krishna and assist the Lord in reclaiming the fallen souls. If our affection or attachment for others is based on bodily sense gratification, in the name of society, friendship, and love, that excessive, unwanted affection, ati sneha, will cause burning pain at the time of the breaking or destruction of the relationship. Now, the story of the foolish pigeon will be narrated. A similar story is described in the 7th canto, 2nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, told by Yamaraj to the mourning widows of King Suyagya. All right, so that's it. We'll stop here. Make sure you come back next week to hear this dramatic story. And thank you so much for your time, for your patience. Hare Krishna.